Unlimited power! Alright. Welcome, everyone, to the auto scrapper. It's enormous. But this contraption, if you can call it that, this Rube Goldberg machine starts at soil and ends at Titanite. It jams it into this large canister. The RTG farm is completely unnecessary, but I didn't want to mess with the even remote possibility that I wouldn't have enough power, so I made a farm of 10 RTGs. So, yeah, we start at soil and we go all the way to Titanite and we store it. This took almost 60 of these little timer modules. Not timer, but some of them are timers, some of them are just buttons, some of them are counters. It took 60 of the different automation modules to make this thing work. And to have them on their own separate little open loop timer things that I have. But everything has been rigorously tested. This took me basically an entire work day. And from top to bottom, just pressing this button starts the entire thing. And I can just let it go forever. Provided that I, put soil on this thing every now and again. And I don't really need these two pins, so I don't need to keep reattaching them, but all that does is enable the output on this thing, so I can choose not to output and it'll be fine, but... Alright. You want to see it in action? And away we go! So the way that this kind of works, I'll explain while it's running so you can just see its majesty. But basically, the first stage is an auto printer on a timer. All the stages are on timers. Each one of these little pods is a set of delay modules that functions as a timer that's very specifically tuned to let this print exactly 8 small canisters and then stop. And importantly, leaving 1 resin on the arm already, because that affects the timing. In the second stage, it takes the 8 canisters that we made. Conveniently, 4 canisters equates to exactly 1 scrap. So it takes the 1 scrap, dumps it off on the little storage I have here for later. So with 8 small canisters, I can make exactly 2 scrap. And those 2 scrap are then placed and counted. See the one little notch that just showed up green on this little counter module? So this counts how many times I've put a set of 2 scrap onto this storage. And once it gets full, and I've placed the entire 8 scrap onto this module, the back half of the operation starts. So for the meantime, we just have to appreciate the perfectly timed set. I could probably post this to r/oddly satisfying or something. But all the while that this thing is loading up the printer, the soil centrifuge is reloading up the medium resource canister back to full. And leaving 1 on the edge of the arm. That's the final canister for this set. Back arm grabs it, dumps it off in a random spot, and we start again. We're still at what? 19 soil? Yeah. And this is creative mode, if you couldn't tell, since I can just float around. I can go up and I can go down and I can go all around. It's great. I can still do my little dances. Yeah, we've got 2 more of these need to finish up, and then you can see the back half, which, you can probably tell what happens. All it does is it loads the scrap onto the rocket, sends the rocket into space, and then unloads the precious Titanite from the rocket. The only thing that ever needs to change in this entire loop is the timing of this last module, the unloading stage, because it depends on well, actually, I guess that this could be timed out. Like the counter would change, and the timer on the very final unloading stage would change, and that's it. Because the amount of scrap that you actually load onto the onto this is dependent on, you know, what the trade ratio is. So if you get 1 for 2, then you would only need 4 of these instead of 8. So you would change this timer, this counter to 2 instead of 4, and then you would change this timer. You would add or subtract modules based on how long it takes to unload. So if it was unloading 8 of these instead of 4, because in the end we're going to be unloading this with 4 on it. But if I was unloading 8 instead of 4, then we would just double this circuit, and that's it. We just add 4 more of these modules before they press this button. So yeah, this is entirely modular to whatever resource you desire output from the trade platform, as long as you change the amount of timers and the timing of the offloading. And that's it. That's all there is to it. So yeah, now you can see we started this timer. It's currently timing out the unloading of this platform and loading onto the rocket. Takes the scrap, jams it on there, takes the scrap, jams it on there, turns back around, and shuts off. And sends the rocket to space! Now, this timer, and again, it starts the scrap processing over again, but it'll only ever catch up to 2 of these scrap before, because this sits dormant for so long in the back half. So I never have to worry about this first part catching up. But yeah, so this timer is the longest one, because it takes into account how long the rocket takes to return from space. So we've got 3 more of these timer modules, so if we look up probably right about now, we should see the rocket coming back in. I was off by 3 seconds or so. There it is. You see we have our 4 Titanite, and then the new timer starts as the arm offloads. Our large canister now has 63 Titanite in it, and it shuts off. And then we just continue from where we were over here. Well, that, gang, was a perfect run of the auto scrapper. Hope you enjoyed it, and hope you think I'm a psychopath. Bye! I'll just tack this part on as some bloopers, but as it's finishing another set of those. This was my testing area, where I was just trying out random shit and failing with lots of random shit. You can see I was using all the cable extenders, which were useless, and all the power switches, which were pointless, and the battery timing, which was pointless. I can just set it on an explicit timer, and it was way easier. A bunch of random shit I just threw on the ground. Smelter I was using to get real quick 1 iron, because this is my auto research, which I could also just do on a timer instead of doing with the battery sensor. But the battery sensor does give me a good way to... I guess I could have 2 timer loops, and I could probably figure those out pretty cleanly. But yeah, this is my auto researcher, which currently they're conveniently exactly timed together. But yeah, so you can see it just automatically fires up research. I've only ever had 1 resource in both of these containers. You can see that this one's empty now. This one's got the 1 iron in it. And it's just been going the whole time I've been working, so check out my research bytes, huh? 21,000. I mean, it's only been just from these 2 going by themselves, up to 21,000 bytes. Just from a handful of batteries and an RTG station that's charging the batteries, which, you know, substitute the RTG station for our network of power, and this is what you get for the auto researcher. It works pretty clean. So yeah, it spends like about 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes charging all the batteries up. I think it's actually closer to 1 minute. Charging all the batteries together with the excess power from the RTG stations, and or whatever, you know, your overflow power source. And then once it's done charging all the batteries, this sensor kicks off and sends it. Now, I could probably just do it on a timer, and it'd be a quick timer for the offload and then a extended timer. You know what? That's probably what I'll end up doing. But yeah, this is just a peek at what I've been working on in my spare time. And there you go. 1 iron pulled from its research chamber, jammed through a canister, and pumped back into its same research chamber. Ad infinitum. That one little piece of iron has been going the entire time I've been working on this shit. The entire time that was in progress over there on the auto scrapper, the auto researcher was doing work. Even though I already have everything researched in creative mode, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, there's your little extra treat at the end. Bye.